In today's podcast, I want to do the third part of the child, adult, and parent. I want to do the parent part, healing the inner parent. We would have been brought up with different parenting styles, all of us. Some of us came from unconditional love parenting, and there was discipline, but not really a lot of punishment. A lot of us would have come from conditional love parenting, where there was a lot of punishment and a lot of withholding and a lot of cruelty, I feel, and maybe even abuse, especially emotional abuse of children. I think it's good for you to look back on your parenting that you had as an idea of how you were shown to parent and just see where you've come in that project, because we often just parent the way we were parented if we're not careful. Sometimes we can be really aware of it and do the exact opposite. That's what I did. I basically went, oh, I don't want to let my kids go through that again. Tried not to use those modalities like conditional love and punishment and any abuse, and also I was much more easygoing with them because I didn't want them to be coming out of a controlled environment. And that's the other thing. If you've come out of a very controlling environment with your parents, you need to be aware that you might very easily go into control. Healing your parent is really important because there's two parts of the parent. There's the part of the parent that you will parent other people, but there's also the part of the parent that you will parent yourself. So if you don't have much love in your parent because you were parented badly and you don't feel you have a lot of love in that area, or you're grown up now and you're not a very loving parent, you might need to put a lot more love in your parent. So I'd see yourself as the parent and put a lot of love in that. You can usually tell because you'll be really hard on yourself as well. If you're very punishing to yourself, if you're very negative towards yourself, you're always telling yourself off, you're always feeling like you're a loser and you're a failure because you ate that second piece of cake, you exercise to a degree you're almost going to vomit. I feel you need to have a look at that, because that means that you are parenting like in a very negative way, and it's very conditional and it's very controlling and it's very harsh. It would be a very harsh type of parenting. And that's why it's important for you not only to fix up your parent and become a more loving, kind parent with unconditional love towards others, because you're going to do that to yourself as well. You'll become more loving towards yourself. You will find that people who are hard on themselves in the parenting role are usually hard on themselves to their children and anyone else that they have to parent, and that can even be their pets. Have a look at it. It's really, really fascinating. I thought it was fascinating because I found that when I started working on my parent and became a better parent to myself and was more kind to myself, more loving to myself, more patient with myself when I couldn't get my goals there, it pressed out into other areas, became less judgmental. You'll find that parenting has a lot to do with judgment too, to judge behaviour. And if you're very judgmental, that'll transfer into be fairly unforgiving and punishing. So the first thing you need to do is to have a look at your background, have a look at where you're at, and then feel your parent, see it in front of you like Wendy the parent, or Steve or Joe, and fill it with light, fill it with love, release any negativity from your parenting. And that would have come a lot from how you were parented, I feel. You might have anger towards your parents and hate and resentment and hurt from your parents and emotional pain. Remember, those things will reside in the parent part of you as well. And I suggest that you do some release work on these feelings. So if you have had a very difficult relationship with your father and you hated him and he was mean and you love him but you don't like him, I would do some work on letting go those residual feelings that you've kept, because that's going to affect how you parent yourself and others. The same goes with your mum, because we have feelings about that as well. These parents were harder than I think the parents are now in some ways, because it was allowed. People were allowed to hit their kids and scream at them and smash them against the wall and things like that, and they used to think that was fine in the olden days, but we've sort of progressed somewhat from that. But you might have come out of that. I remember my mother had the duster. It was bamboo. She'd keep it near the fridge, and if you misbehaved, she'd bring it out and she'd swish it in the air and you could hear it, and then she'd hit you with it, and it really hurt. You get like welts on your back. or on your legs, or whether she hit you. Parenting was okay to do that to your kids, but not so much now. When you do the stuff on your parenting, I think you should write down how you felt about your parents and your father and your mother, or if you have step parents, the ones who influenced you, and try and write that down so you can now do that. The more work that you actually do on your parent, the better you'll be as a parent and to yourself. And this energy work is very powerful. Most people don't do it because they really don't know what they're supposed to do, I think. But if you see it as yourself, you as a parent, and you do that work, the energy work of the love, the healing, send healing to your parent, do some release work to let go of some of the parenting damage you had, and that you're carrying some of those emotions or those thoughts, and work a little bit on those things, you'll find you'll actually improve as a parent, and that part of you will be more balanced. It's really interesting. I think that as much as people don't have a lot of love in their inner child, they sometimes don't have a lot of love in their inner parent either, or even in the inner adult. And if you do all of them, then you balance them all and you fill them all up, top them all up with love. Release all that residual stuff that you've been carrying around energetically, and fill up with good light. White light's very good to fill up with, I feel. And if you've drawn to fill up with certain colours, do that. Maybe you had a sad sort of parenting experience, fill up with bright, happy colours. And also, if you're in a parenting position and you feel you're not doing so well with your kids or someone else's kids as steps, this will actually make you be a more loving, caring person. As a parent, we should come from the heart. I mean, we need to have boundaries, and there needs to be, at times, some discipline. But we don't need to have walls, and we don't need to have punishment. Punishment is not good. Punishment usually doesn't work either. It's the way to reteach children. And in my What Kids Need, I've done a podcast on the difference between punishment and discipline, and there's a difference. And you might want to watch that one, because that's going to encourage you to use discipline and learning new behaviours in a positive way, in a loving way, rather than just punish. Because you probably punish yourself, I think. As a parent, if you were punished, you're probably quite punishing to yourself. Love yourself as a parent, be a loving parent, and do the energy work. And I think you're going to find a big shift in all your relationships. You'll be a big, glowing, loving parent. So I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light this week. And I hope that you get some really good results from this.